So saving money is a big deal, even if you retain. So Taylor Hall is making something like, I think he said 70 grand a week or a day or something that. That's a big deal. It's a big deal for anybody, right? Even though Terry Pegula, it was announced today, he went from $5 billion to 5.4 or something like that in terms of
net worth. They're losing money somehow, the Pegulas, and yet their net worth is like 400 million more or something like that.
Money's fake. It is fake.
It is.
There's one thing the last year has convinced me of. It's fake. So there's that with Taylor Hall. The other thing with Taylor Hall, as long as we're talking about the buyer's market, is, hey, if all you can get is, for example, a second or third, do you want that attached to your resume that you were the guy who traded Taylor Hall for a third round pick? Buddy, if you don't get anything for Taylor Hall, what the hell did you have him for? What did you have him for? Wait, the only defense of the signing was it was a pick harvest.
I think, Steve, you've got to send a message to the rest of the league that the Buffalo Sabres will not be ripped off in a trade.
We will do something objectively stupid to what? Like, what are men? Like, what is with pride? Trade him for, if all you could get on the day is a seventh. For God's sake, you get a seventh. Okay, maybe draw the line there. Maybe that's a little too far back. But you have to recoup something for Taylor Hall, or it's a failure. Mm-hmm. Do you want to be the guy who lost him for nothing? I mean, that could be attached to your name too. What the? I don't understand. I don't understand the pride there.
I'm sure they're going to trade him. Remember, it's gamesmanship, and they have no cards. Like, the Buffalo Sabres are going to this trade deadline with no cards. Everybody knows they need to sell. Everybody knows they have players to sell. And everybody knows that there aren't a lot of buyers.
Well,
what cards do they have?
Here's their card. You want Taylor Hall? Okay, there's one of them.
That's it.
He's ours.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, Adam, I know it's not a lot, but it's something.
Okay, Steve. So you say that, and I'm GMX. I have a cool name, GMX. And I'm calling you, and I want hi, GMX. I would like Taylor Hall.
Cool. It's a first.
I don't think so.
All right. What's your alternative?
It's going to be a second and a middling prospect, and you're going to retain 50%.
Well, if we're going to retain 50%, I tell you what, it's definitely not going to be a middling prospect. You're going to give me one of your top five.
I'm 100%. Not. Actually, I'm not, because we're talking about a player that isn't going to re-sign with you guys next year anyway. I know you need to offload him. So I'm going to give you a body so it looks good for you. And I'm going to give you a second round pick, which is pretty solid.
You know what? You bring up some good points. And I'm so rude. I didn't ask for your name at the beginning of this call. What's your name?
GMX.
GMX, go fuck yourself. Click.
Oh, all right. And what I would say to that is, okay, then go re-sign Taylor Hall then. It's not going to make
No, you can't say that. I've already hung up the phone. I told you to go fuck yourself.
The Sabres are not going to get better even if they re-sign him. This is the problem.
No.
So this is the thing. He's not going to re-sign there. They can't re-sign him, and they're not going to get better. They have to move him. And so you're right, Steve, with the pride angle. But if you're another GM, and obviously I wouldn't, if another GM was not going to play it that hard, you're obviously going to be respectful and cordial and blah, 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 blah. But I definitely think you got to say, listen, Kevin, here are the cards, man. What do I got to do? What I would say to Kevin Adams is, what do we got to do to make you look good to ownership here?
That's a lot nicer than how you just talked to me.
Well, I know.
GMX.
I'm doing it for entertainment. But what I would say is, like, what do you need? What do you need? And let's work back from that. We'd really like to make this work. I want you to, I'm not trying to fleece you here, but you understand the position that you're in. You're not going to make the playoffs. You're not going to re-sign the player. What do we need to do to make this work? And it will not include a top prospect.
The other thing you're missing from this conversation, though, is GMX. I mean, there will also be GMY and GMZ and maybe. GMABC. No, it's Taylor Hall. There's no maybe. It's Taylor Hall. Eric Stahl, you might only get XYZ.
Right. Okay.
And I mean, there's no illusion that there's going to be a first rounder for Eric Stahl. Might be good for a chuckle. I'm sure that was a very So anyway, Kevin, what do you actually? How do
It cost Montreal like nothing to get him.
Wasn't it a third and a fifth?
Like there's nothing.
Yeah, no, that's pretty bad. Now, the one thing I will say is Kevin Adams didn't exactly set himself up for awesome success. This year, I think what would be good for him, I don't think he's going to get the first, so I should say that. But he shouldn't settle for nothing. This year, I think an abundance of picks is what you're after.
Mm-hmm.
So
a second and a third.
Second and a third.
First and a third.
Now we're talking. Like a second and a third, we're talking. It's Taylor Hall and you're getting him for playoff success. I try to staple some conditional picks to that because you're talking about future picks that don't make, who cares? If I've won the Stanley Cup, I'm going to be too drunk to care that it's the Anaheim rule. I'm going to be too drunk off of champagne to care that I just gave up a first round pick that's going to end up being Jordan Eberle someday.
Yep.
Would you give up Jordan Eberle if it meant winning the Stanley Cup? Yes. Who gives a shit? Like, I don't care how good this pick is. I won the cup. The Dallas Stars traded Jerome actual frigging Iginla for Joe Nieuwendyk.
Mm-hmm.
They won the Stanley Cup. I would give up a Hockey Hall of Fame player to win the Stanley Cup. I don't care. I want to win the Stanley Cup. Ideally, I keep the Hockey Hall of Fame player and win more than one Stanley Cup. Mm-hmm. But how about I focus on winning this Stanley Cup right now?
And I'll worry about the other one later.
So, included in that Islanders deal, I think there was something about playoff success and the conditional fourth turns into a third.
Mm-hmm.
You can negotiate something like that for Taylor Hall.
Sure. And you know what? If I'm the Leafs, the one thing I don't want to give up is the prospect capital. I don't mind giving away picks, especially this year, because I just don't think as well as you can accurately. Unless you're in, the top 10 in the draft, I think it's going to be a lot of magic beans. So I don't really mind that first going because it's sort of, obviously you never want to trade it first if you can help it, but if it's going to help you win the cup, so what? I don't think anybody's going to be mad if the Leafs give up a first rounder and Taylor Hall's coming the other way.
No.
All right.
You know what I keep forgetting to bring up there, fellas? And
are you moving off Taylor Hall?
Sorry?
Are you moving off Taylor Hall?
No.
Okay.
It's related. It's related.
I have one question after.
What is it about Taylor Hall?
Yes.
Go for it. Go for it. Trust me on this one. Go for it. This is the one. I'm very seldomly right. Go for it.
I trust
it. It was just I just want to after this playoff run is done, if he gets traded or he doesn't get traded or whatever, I think this offseason needs to be a referendum on Taylor Hall's career. And the fact that he went from Hart Trophy winner to New Jersey selling off to Arizona to signing in Buffalo for a contract that he was the last contract on the table, and then being sold from Buffalo to whoever contending team picks up now, and then whatever he does in this little playoff run. Like, after this is all done, we need to talk about the demise or the rebound or whatever the heck's happened in the last 3 years to Taylor Hall. Because you don't just go from Hart Trophy to, hey, we're going to sell you for parts 2 years in a row. And we'll see what kind of contract is on the table this offseason, because last offseason, there wasn't much interest. So I just think it'll be a very interesting discussion to see how this plays out.
I think you're right, Jesse. I think the contract will depend on how well he does in the playoffs. Should he get there, unless Kevin Adams hangs on to him.
Some food for thought with Taylor Hall. So he's having a miserable season. And he's shooting, I think it's 2.3%.
Was last season also a miserable season?
Now, wait. So I tweeted this. On Taylor Hall's scoring struggles, he's shooting 2.3%. His career shooting percentage is 10. Last year's was 8.1. So if you look at his past couple of years, there's been a downtick. I want to say it was like 5.5 and then 8.1. It wasn't good. So exactly 600 players have played at least 10 games in the NHL this season. More than half, 324, have shot 8% or better. Hall is 569th out of 600 in terms of shooting percentage. And only 3 forwards have a worse shooting percentage in the National Hockey League than Taylor Hall. Basically, even if
who are the forwards? Do you know?
I would.
If you have to look it up, don't bother.
I have to look it up. I'm sorry.
Okay, don't bother.
But it's just a sea of defensemen because they're like taking floaters from the point, not even necessarily trying to score. Anyway. So basically, even if he's worse than his career shooting percentage at this point in his career, he's probably not this bad. Plus, he has 17 assists on it. This part will make you gasp. Plus, he has 17 assists on a team with 2 guys with 5 or more goals. The Buffalo Sabres have 2 players with 5 or more goals.
Just 2 on the whole roster.
I'm going to say it one more time just in case your brain malfunctioned. The Buffalo Sabres have 2 guys with more than 5 goals. Holy shit.
They're on a 5-game point streak the other night, so...
You know what? You're absolutely right. And I think it's going to extend because they're playing Aaron Dell and the New Jersey Devils, who I've decided to be full-blown bitter against.
Why are you bitter? It's just because of the Aaron Dell thing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So I don't know if your team should sell the farm for him, but he'd definitely help your team.
By the way, the Sabres in 38 games have 87 total goals.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Okay. Math. You said 87 goals?
Correct.
87 goals. Matthews has scored 32% of all Buffalo Sabres goals. Holy shit.
Wow.
That's staggering. And I think he might have done it in fewer games.
Right. Yikes. They've also allowed 131.
They're bad.
Oh, boy.
That's bad.
They are bad. They're much better with Linus Ullmark, who I think still has a winning record with that team.
Somehow, some way. Unbelievable.
They should not trade him. Unless they get something ridiculous, they should move heaven and earth to resign
At that point, I'm like, well, maybe I give up a prospect because I don't hate Jack Campbell and Linus Ullmark going into next season. But I don't know how you keep Linus Ullmark, right? He's a free agent, right?
One of the best acquisitions the Sabres can make over the next week, I think, is re-signing Linus Ullmark.
Is he a UFA?
I think he is.
Yes, he is.
Oh.
So here's my silly little theory.
Okay.
Guys, are you ready?
Ready.
The Buffalo Sabres should buy.
Okay.
Buy what?
They should buy at this deadline. They should buy human beings who are under contract for the rest of this season and next, at least.
Buy with
They
what?
should picks. You don't have any scouts anyway. Who cares?
Well, and they need people like they have some money, don't they? At least to spend on players.
It sure looks like the Pagulas have money if they're willing to invest. Like, you obviously, if you're Kevin Adams, you have to get the Pagulas in on this idea. You trade guys who you're not going to keep around. You see what you can get for Colin Miller. You see what you can get for Brandon Montour. You see what you could get for anybody you can extend, right? I think you should maybe look at extending some of those guys, especially your RFAs. You see what's out there for Victor Olofsson. If you can't get anything for him, you extend him. But one thing that we've talked about is going forward, the Buffalo Sabres need honest to goodness, actual human beings, living, breathing humans on their roster. And like, especially with Linus Ullmark, they friggin' don't have any. Call up. I think Kevin Adams should call up. A great way to get the conversation going around the league, because they always talk about like, it's difficult being a rookie GM. You don't know all the guys. I would love to just be a fly on the wall and get Brad Treliving's reaction to Kevin Adams calling him up and asking about Johnny Gaudreau. And just, what? Like, I'm listening. I just want to see where this conversation goes. You can't hang up that phone. You want to know what he's going to say.
What are you giving?
What are you going to give to get him?
I don't know. I'm not Kevin Adams, but I want to. I want to know.
You just said 2 guys on the team have scored 5 goals.
Step 1,
How are you getting
steal
Johnny
underpants.
Gaudreau?
Step 2, question mark. Step 3, profit.
No. Okay. Treliving could come back and be like, I heard Dahlin is potentially available. And if you're the Sabres, you say no to nothing. Now, you should definitely keep Rasmus Dahlin, but you go, okay, I tell you what, Dahlin is available, but you're going to give me a lot more than Johnny Gaudreau.
What are you saying?
And then I think the Buffalo Sabres should be willing to deal their picks. Not their first. That'd be dumb. But I think they should be willing to deal their picks because they need players going forward. You can't have this season again next year. For the love of God. For the love of God. Like, you don't even necessarily have to make the playoffs. But any team that's in cap trouble next year, like, why aren't the Buffalo Sabres in on Tyler Johnson, for example?
Mm.
And it's even even if nothing happens, you then continue the conversation next year. You know, they should be in on Tyler Johnson. They should be in on Vince Dunn of the Blues. They should be in on Johnny Gaudreau of the Flames. They should be in on guys, and they should be willing to deal picks to do it. Honestly,
they should.
You don't deal a guy like Dylan Cousins. That's
re-sign
stupid.
Taylor Hall. Try and make the playoffs this year. You know, just go for it.
Listen, if you can re-sign anybody, I mean, anyone who's willing to be there, well, damn, sure. If you want to, sure. I wasn't going to force any of you, but since you asked, anyone who wants to be a Sabre, you should maybe let them.